Welcome to the deep dive. Ever find yourself watching a movie and kind of get sucked in by the world?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how did they make this place? You know?
Well, today, get ready because we are diving deep into the world of the production designer,
Yes.
the creative masterminds behind these unforgettable cinematic universes.
It's true. They are really the architects of atmosphere. And you might be surprised to learn just how much detail goes into every decision they make.
Right.
From the grandest, most elaborate set to the tiniest little prop that you might not even notice on screen.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got a stack of info here from RoleCatcher, a career platform that breaks down different roles in film and TV, and they describe the production designer as the visual storyteller.
The one who takes the script and makes it reality. But what's really interesting is that they're not just focused on what looks pretty.
Right.
It's all about how each visual element enhances the narrative.
Yeah. Exactly. A good production designer understands that every choice, from the color of the walls to the placement of a lamp, can subtly influence how we, the audience, feel about a scene.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're playing with our emotions through design.
That's wild.
Yeah.
See, I never even thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So it sounds like to excel in this role, you need to be an artist, a bit of a psychologist almost.
It's a very fascinating blend.
Yeah.
You need that creative eye, a deep understanding of things like color theory and composition, but also an awareness of how those elements can be used to evoke specific feelings or enhance the story's themes. And speaking of enhancing the story,
Yeah.
location scouting is another critical aspect of their work.
Yeah, it sounds very glamorous, right?
It does.
Location scouting, jet setting around the world, finding the perfect spot.
Right.
But I'm guessing there's a lot more to it than just,
Oh, absolutely.
picking a pretty place.
It's about understanding how a space can contribute to the narrative.
Okay.
They ask themselves, does this fit the mood?
Right.
Will it work for filming?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And of course, does it align with the budget? Because believe it or not, even choosing a location can come with a lot of unexpected costs.
See, this is so interesting to me because I watch these making of documentaries all the time.
Right.
I'm much more of a behind-the-scenes movie fan.
Yep.
But this is making me think about it in a whole new way. So we talked about the artistic side. What about the technical skills needed to be a production designer? I know that RoleCatcher mentioned CAD software.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So CAD stands for computer-aided design, and it's completely revolutionized the way that sets are designed and visualized.
Wow.
Programs like SketchUp or Vectorworks allow production designers to create incredibly detailed 3D models of sets,
Oh, wow.
which helps the director, the cinematographer, everyone really to understand exactly what they're working with
Yeah.
before a single piece of wood is cut.
Wow. So it's like having a virtual blueprint of the entire world they're building.
Yeah.
That must be so helpful, especially for really complex scenes and
Absolutely.
difficult shots.
And don't underestimate the importance of those virtual models when it comes to things like budgeting and logistics.
Yeah.
Being able to visualize the set in 3D allows the production designer to anticipate potential problems.
Right.
Or make adjustments early on, which can potentially save everyone a lot of time and money in the long run.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of budget, I know that RoleCatcher mentioned that production designers are often responsible for managing the budget.
It's true.
That sounds like a whole other layer of complexity on top of everything else.
It definitely is. They're essentially walking this tightrope between realizing their creative vision
Right.
and staying within the often very real constraints of a film's budget.
Yeah.
Imagine having to tell a director, I know you want that life-size replica of the Eiffel Tower, but we just don't have the budget for it.
Ouch. I mean,
Yeah.
that's got to be hard sometimes to kind of
It is.
balance those things.
Yeah,
So they must need some serious negotiation skills on top of everything else.
absolutely. And it's not just about negotiating with the director.
Right.
They're often coordinating with multiple departments.
Yeah.
Construction, props, costumes, each with their own needs and sometimes their own opinions on how things should be done.
Man, this is really giving me a whole new appreciation for just the behind-the-scenes magic of filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much collaboration and problem-solving goes into creating these immersive worlds.
It really is. And it's a testament to the skill and vision of the production designer
Yeah.
that we as viewers often have no idea how much work has gone into creating the environments that transport us into the story.
Yeah.
They're truly the unsung heroes of filmmaking.
Totally agree with that. You know, one thing that really stood out to me in this RoleCatcher guide was the emphasis on practical experience.
Yeah.
They say it's not enough to just be a whiz with design software.
Right.
You really need to get your hands dirty, understand how things work in the real world.
Exactly. Knowing how a set is actually built.
Right.
How lighting works on location versus in a studio.
Right.
Those are invaluable skills, and you can't learn that from a textbook.
Totally.
They even recommend seeking out internships.
Oh, yeah?
Or, entry-level positions in the art department just to get your foot in the door.
So it's the whole thing of learning from the ground up, even if you're starting as a set dresser or something.
Precisely. And it's not just about practical skill.
Oh, yeah.
That's also about networking.
Right.
Building those relationships with other people in the industry.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because ultimately, filmmaking is such a collaborative art form.
Yeah.
And, those connections that you make early on can be so crucial for your career.
For sure. And speaking of collaboration, I'm curious about how the role of the production designer has kind of evolved with the rise of all this new technology that we're seeing in film these days.
Right.
I mean, we're seeing so many more virtual sets now, almost like something out of a science fiction movie.
It's true.
So how are they adapting to that?
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
The lines between the real and the digital are blurring.
Right.
And it's opening up this whole new world of possibilities for production designers.
So are they expected now to be comfortable working with practical sets and also these virtual environments?
Absolutely. And it requires a whole other skill set.
Right.
You need to understand things like green screen technology, motion capture,
right,
how to seamlessly blend those digital elements with the actual practical elements on the set.
It sounds like the job description is just constantly evolving.
It is.
Which makes sense in such a fast-paced industry.
Constantly. You always have to be learning, experimenting, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
For sure. So we've talked about technical skills, collaboration, budgeting. But I mean, at the end of the day, it really does all boil down to storytelling, right?
It all comes back to the story. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher had some really interesting points about how their choices can even subtly influence our emotions as viewers.
Oh, interesting. Like how so?
Well, imagine you're watching a thriller.
Okay.
The production designer might use a really limited color palette.
Right.
Maybe lots of shadows, really stark lighting.
Okay.
To create a sense of unease or tension.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I like that feeling when a character walks into a dark, empty room.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, something bad's about to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's using those visual cues to kind of tap into our subconscious.
Right.
And enhance the emotional impact of the story.
So smart.
On the flip side, they might use really warm, inviting colors and soft lighting to evoke a sense of nostalgia, let's say, in a coming-of-age story.
See, it's amazing how these things work on us without us even really realizing it.
Yeah.
Because I know I've watched things and felt a certain way, but I've never really thought about why does this scene, evoke this feeling of whatever. It's really fascinating.
And it's all carefully crafted by the production designer.
Right.
They really are masters of visual storytelling.
Totally.
Using their understanding of color, light, space.
Yeah.
To create these worlds that draw us in and make us feel something.
They're so good at it.
They are.
It's like they're kind of whispering to us through the screen, using visuals instead of words.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It really speaks to the power of production design when it's done well. It's almost like it's seamless, like you don't even notice it. Yeah. You're so caught up in the story.
You don't even realize.
You don't even realize how much thought has gone into every single detail.
It's true. And it makes you appreciate those behind the scenes features, even more when you watch them.
Absolutely.
Because you see how much work
it's a whole other level
goes into creating these things.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there listening who's like, wow, this sounds so cool.
Right.
What would you say is the most important piece of advice for aspiring production designers?
Well, I think based on everything that we've learned from RoleCatcher, it seems like it really boils down to finding that sweet spot between creativity, technical skills, and good old-fashioned hard work. Don't be afraid to start small.
Yeah.
To learn from every experience, good or bad.
Right.
And never stop learning. Never stop honing your craft.
Yeah. It's like any creative field, I imagine.
It is.
It takes, passion and dedication, a willingness to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And also don't be afraid to Let your own unique perspective and style kind of shine through in your work.
Exactly.
Because I imagine the most successful production designers are the ones who really bring something special to the table, a
Absolutely.
way of seeing the world that's kind of entirely their own.
Got it.
Well, this has been so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the artistry and the skill that goes into creating the movies and TV shows that we love.
It's a fascinating field for sure.
It is.
And I hope that, this conversation has inspired some future production design superstars out there.
I think it has, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the world of production design. But before we go, here's a final thought for everyone listening. If you were given the chance to design your own cinematic world, what story would you tell? What kind of atmosphere would you create? Let your imaginations run wild with that one, and we'll catch you all next time.